Lindsay. It's Thursday, February 3rd, which means I have to make a video. So, here goes. You mentioned in your video yesterday that it was Groundhog's Day, but you didn't seem to really know anything about the holiday. As I currently have nothing really of interest to talk about, I'm going to inform you. Yesterday was in fact Groundhog's Day. Groundhog Day is a holiday celebrated in Canada and the United States on the 2nd of February every year, which is when, according to history, because history's always right, a groundhog will leave his little burrow, and if he sees his shadow, he will turn around and run right back in and go to sleep for another 6 weeks, because cold weather is still coming. Conversely, if he walks out of his little burrow and does not see his shadow, he will stay outside for mild weather is here. From what I could tell, there's not a lot of historical data on why we celebrate Groundhog's Day. There is, however, a poem from Old England and an entry in a journal or something where someone mentions that it was Candlemas Day, which was on February 2nd, and it was when a groundhog left his burrow, and if he sees a shadow, he runs away, and if he doesn't, he stays outside. So back in the day, Groundhog Day / Candlemas Day was only celebrated in theory, where they knew that groundhogs left their little holes, but they didn't really do what we do today. For the modern version of Groundhog's Day / Candlemas Day, we look to Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, a little town, well, it's 7,000 people, so maybe not so little, in central / western Pennsylvania, which boasts itself as the weather capital of the world. Their only claim to this is that on February 2nd of every year, a group of old and sometimes fat men show up in top hats. I don't know if they're wearing tails because they are wearing big overcoats, but I suspect they're wearing tails. Pull a groundhog named Punxsutawney Phil out of his little crate and let him see his shadow or not. I feel like it bears noting that groundhogs look suspiciously like some kind of strange cross between a prairie dog and a hedgehog, though maybe not Sonic. Then these distinguished-looking men decide whether or not Punxsutawney Phil has seen his shadow, and then from that, extrapolate whether we will have 6 more weeks of winter or not. If he sees his shadow, 6 more weeks of winter. If he doesn't, spring is right around the corner. Yesterday, Phil did not see his shadow, which means that spring is right around the corner. Though if you are in the 35-ish% of the United States that's been buried in snow the past few weeks, you don't feel like it. What's interesting is that spring happens on the same day every year, March 21st, which, if you do the math, is roughly 6.5 weeks from February 2nd. Therefore, regardless of whether or not Phil sees his shadow, there's still 6 more weeks of winter. But we're Americans, and if we want to believe that a groundhog can tell us what the weather's going to be, then logic be damned. Who knows, maybe Phil will be right this year and spring will come early. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed learning about Groundhog Day. Now go rent the movie and I'll see you tomorrow. P.S. I like my challenge. I've never tried to do that, but I'm pretty sure I know how. If you want, I can also post a tutorial about how to do it, but I think I'm going to be doing it in Final Cut, and I don't know how well that's going to translate to whatever programs you're using these days.